Why is JavaScript's async await syntactic sugar for promises? Imagine trying to read a story with a lot of complicated twists and turns. It can get confusing and hard to follow. Now picture rewriting that story in a way that makes everything flow smoothly and feels more natural. That's what async and await do for JavaScript code. They make asynchronous code easier to read and write. But they don't replace promises. Instead, they build on promises to make your life simpler. Let's start with promises. A promise is like a promise in real life. It's an object that says, "I will finish this task soon." It could succeed or fail. When it succeeds, it gives you a value. When it fails, it gives you an error. Promises let you handle these results with then and catch methods. But if you have many promises chained together, the code can get messy and hard to follow. It's like a long chain of callbacks. This is where async and await come in. When you write a function with the keyword async, it automatically returns a promise. Inside that function, you can use the keyword await before a promise. This pauses the function's execution until the promise settles. If the promise is fulfilled, it gives you the value directly. If it's rejected, it throws an error that you can catch with a try and catch block. For example, instead of writing a promise chain with then, like fetch URL, then response is equal to response, JSON, then data is equal to console log data, catch error is equal to console error, you can write an async function. Inside it, you use await to wait for fetch and response JSON. The code looks like synchronous code, but it's still asynchronous behind the scenes. It's just cleaner and easier to understand. The reason async and await are called syntactic sugar is because they don't change how promises work. They just make writing promise-based code look more like regular, straightforward code. When you call an async function, it always returns a promise. The await keyword pauses the function without blocking the whole program. It only pauses that function's execution. Error handling becomes simpler with try and catch blocks instead of chaining catch methods. You can't use await outside an async function. That's a rule that keeps the code consistent. It reminds you that async and await are just a nicer way to work with promises. They don't replace promises. They make working with promises more natural and less cluttered. In web development, this means you can write code that fetches data, reads files, or queries databases more smoothly. It's easier to read, easier to debug, and less prone to mistakes. So, in simple terms, async and await are like a shortcut that makes promises easier to handle. They don't change the core idea of promises but give you a cleaner way to work with them. That's why they are called syntactic sugar. They make your code look and feel more like regular, synchronous code, even though it's still asynchronous.